Morgan State University is very privileged and extremely honored this morning to have as our commencement speaker a distinguished American who needs no introduction and whose name is recognized across the country and around the world. For 25 years, he has been a prominent figure in the world of print and broadcast journalism and a clarion voice speaking of important political and social issues affecting the African American community. A native of Houston, Texas, Roland S. Martin earned his Bachelor of Science degree in journalism at Texas A&M University in 1987, and then later he took the master's degree in Christian communication at Louisiana Baptist University and Seminary. But since 1981, when he entered the profession as a county government and neighbors reporter at the Austin American-Statesman, Roland Martin has been on a steady, sure-footed climb to distinction as a journalist, first as a city reporter for the Fort Worth Star-Telegraph, as morning drive sports reporter at KRLD 1080 AM, as news director and morning anchor at KKDA AM in Dallas, as editor of the Dallas Weekly, as the first editor of Tom Joyner's BlackAmericaWeb.com, as news correspondent for American Urban Radio Network, as founder of Romar Media Group in Dallas, as consultant at the Chicago Defender, as radio talk show host in Chicago, as owner and publisher of the Christian Monthly Dallas-Fort Worth Heritage, as managing editor of the Houston Defender. Roland Martin, you have been busy. And not only that, he's found time to author 3 books. His first book, Listening to the Spirit Within, 50 Perspectives on Faith, followed by his second book, Speak Brother, A Black Man's View of America, and then his third book, The First, Barack Obama's Road to the White House, as originally reported to Roland S. Martin. Roland has also won more than 30 professional awards, including the Top Sports Reporting Award from the National Association of Black Journalists, the Top 50 Political Pundits Award from the Daily Telegraph in the United Kingdom, 2 NAACP Image Awards for Best Interviews, listing 3 times in Ebony Magazine's 150 Most Influential Blacks in the United States, and he has won the President's Award from the National Association of Black Journalists. I could go on and on and on. Today he joins us as host and managing editor of TV One's News One Now, the first daily morning news program in history to focus on news and analysis of politics, entertainment, sports, and culture from an explicitly African-American perspective. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving a warm Morgan welcome to our commencement speaker and our friend, Roland S. Martin. Roland, welcome to Morgan.
All right. So how we doing? Damn, that's it? How we doing? All right, then. Glad to be here. Glad to see all y'all here. Cold as hell outside. Thank God y'all had those heaters in the walkway because it was a little chilly out there. I had to race over here, had to do my show this morning, and we're supposed to do it from the campus. We had some technical issues, but we'll be sure to come back, do my show from Morgan State's campus. I was last here. We did our town hall after the death of Freddie Gray, and so we appreciate the hospitality from Morgan State. Now, last week, Saturday, I did a commencement speech at Virginia State, and somebody they said, please tell Morgan State we are the real blue and orange. Now, that's what they told me to tell y'all. That's what they said. So I figured y'all would have a response to what they had to say, right? So are y'all the real blue and orange? That was a little weak. That was a little weak. They were a little loud at Virginia State. Are y'all the real blue and orange? Okay, all right. All right, so before I start, we walked in here. I typically break rules. That's just how I do. I walked in here and I heard Pomp and Circumstance, and that was cute. I appreciate that. And I've done this before, so if y'all know how I roll, that's how I roll. But typically when I come to HBCU, I like to hear black stuff. I mean, I don't disrespect. Pomp and Circumstance is cute. The other songs are nice. So before I speak, just like normally a preacher will have an A and B selection, I need the band to play something black. Because ain't nobody going to remember Pomp and Circumstance when they go home and they were talking about my graduation. So when I come to HBCU, I need to hear some HBCU band music. So can y'all, by 3 minutes, play something as if I'm actually at a Morgan State halftime show? Because it's a little quiet. It's a little quiet in here. So excuse me if y'all got protocol. I don't really care. So, band director, go. Like right now. Oh, graduates, y'all can go ahead and stand up. It's your graduation. Let's just be clear. Faculty, y'all a little lazy. Y'all can stand up too. Y'all a little slow on this side of the room. You in the kente cloth, you can get on up too. Come on. That's what I'm saying. Y'all in the audience, y'all can stand up as well. Come on now. That's what I'm saying. Crazy. I'm sure Kappa. See, this how alphas do it. Y'all in the audience, y'all a little too quiet. There we go. All right, I can speak now. I can speak now. All right, so we're going to do one last thing. I just need y'all cooperation. Y'all have to say, we are the Morgan State class of 2016. Repeat that after me. You're watching News One Now with Roland Martin on TV One. Okay, Mr. President and Chairman Quazy, come on. All right. Okay, on three. This is going to be on Monday's show. That's what happened when you got your own show. All right. One, okay, hold up. Hey, calm down. 1, 2, 3. You're supposed to say, this is the Morgan State class of 2016. You're watching News 19 with Roland Martin on TV 1. All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ain't none of y'all getting a job. Last time, you're watching News 19 with Roland Martin on TV 1. You mess it up, you ain't gonna be on TV on Monday. All right, 1, 2, 3. Ain't none of y'all getting a degree. All right, appreciate it. Lord, can't follow directions, Lord. Woo, we're going to pray for this class. I bet the May people would have got it right. Just messing with y'all. Again, glad to be here. I got a call a couple of weeks ago from your president. Let me tell y'all how black people do. Whenever somebody black call you and the first thing they say is, look at here. There is a request for the hookup after that. So I was sitting here minding my business, and all of a sudden April Ryan calls me. She's a graduate of your institution. She said, Roland, I'm driving, and I got the president on the phone, but she actually had 2 phones. So she put one phone on speakerphone and put him on the other phone. And his first words were, Mr. Martin, how you doing? As the president of Morgan State. Look at here. We got graduation coming up. And I was like, uh-oh. Whenever I hear look at here, I know something is following, which means we can't pay you. But look at here. I'm just messing with y'all. Just messing with y'all. Certainly glad to be here, to be before you. I never take it lightly, the opportunity to be able to address the graduating class. So I want to thank certainly the invitation to speak. Also, all the administrators, faculty, and staff as well, your board of trustees. Shout out to all the folks out of Baltimore who appear on my show, who watch News 1 now. It is important for us to have our own show where we don't apologize for being black. And so that's how we do it. And so also hello to all of family and friends here. Now, someone asked me, they tweeted me, they said, what you going to talk about? I said, well, I don't write speeches because I wrote a speech one time, never read from it. So that was a waste of my time. And so I certainly allow God to be God, to speak in a different and unique way. And I was contemplating what I wanted to say. And anytime you speak in front of this many black people, you have to name your speech. Because it's like at church, if you don't tag your text, they don't remember what you talked about. And so I will title this, Walk in Your Destiny. Walk in Your Destiny. If you are honest with yourself, graduates, there are some people in the stands who are happy to be here, but they were not fully supportive of why you pick your major. Now, I know some of y'all don't want to say nothing because you got some relatives here who are looking at you right now saying, are they going to move and say something? Because if you're real honest, you have made some decisions in your life that have not made your family members happy. Some folks, if you really want to be honest, wanted you to go somewhere else. Well, see, I know I'm stepping on toes because anytime folks get that quiet, I'm bowling down their alley, sitting in their pew, and they sitting there saying, why he got to talk about me today? And so here you are, you decided what it is you want to do in your life, and folks have been doubting you, even though what they're saying, well, go right ahead, but they were not fully in your corner. That there might be some faculty here. You actually experienced that in your life. Your family, your friends may have said the exact same thing. Some folks behind me, same thing. If you really want to be honest with yourself, you've actually experienced that. See, I was a December graduate, 1991 from Texas A&M. And a few weeks before graduation, I was in the car with my daddy, and we were talking. He said, well, son, do you really want to do this journalism thing. And I said, has this Negro lost his mind? Let me paint the picture for y'all. I went to a school of communications magnet school. So for 4 years of high school, I was studying radio, television, and newspaper. I majored in journalism in college. I graduated in 4 years, 3 months. For 8 years, I was studying communications. And I literally said, really? You asking me this question right now? When that's all I've done for the last 8 years? What do you think I'm going to do? Now, my dad was concerned because he understood, doing his research, the starting salary of journalists. And he was concerned because here I was, and I was coming out of college, and I was sitting here. They offered me $20,000, and I said, no. I said, no, y'all got to at least add a couple of grand to that. So my starting salary was $22,100. And he was concerned, and he's freaking out. And I'm like, but this is what I've always wanted to do. See, Daddy ain't tripping about that today, because, see, Daddy right now is living in the house that I paid off. Daddy is driving the car I paid off. Mom and Daddy had their 60th birthday 9 years ago, and their 40th wedding anniversary, and I paid for the full trip to Hawaii, as well as spending money, first class, car service, and everything. Mom and Daddy will celebrate 50 years of marriage in June. More than likely, the OJs will be singing at their anniversary. Mom and Daddy won't be paying for the OJs to sing at their anniversary. Daddy ain't really saying right now, son, do you really want to go into journalism? The reason I lay all of that out to you is because I never changed. I never doubted what God put in my spirit, because this is what I've always wanted to do. Others have come to me to do other jobs. Folks have come to me to run for office. Folks have come to me to run other companies. And I said, no, this is what I was destined and designed to do. And see, when you do what you are destined and designed to do, you are living a life of passion and purpose. So therefore, even when others are doubting your choices, you are never doubting your choices. See, that's critically important, because there might be some folks sitting in the stands right now, maybe some folks who are watching at home, and let's just be honest, the last 20, 25, 30 years, they've had regrets. They're doing a job they really didn't want to do. They're living a life they really did not want it. They wanted to move somewhere else and work somewhere else, but because of circumstances, they are doing what they are doing, and here they are frustrated and angry because of the choices that they made. What I am here to tell you is, if you believe and if you have properly asked God, is this your will for my life, then you should not worry what anyone else has to say, because you are walking in your destiny. And see, that's tough for some of us to accept. Because, see, there are those moments in our lives when we are going through difficulties and we're really trying to figure out, how is all of this stuff going to work out? And I just don't see the pathway. But see, the reality is, as a person of faith, I understand Psalm 139 when it says, I saw your yet unformed body in your mother's womb. Because, see, when God has a purpose for your life and you are walking in your destiny, what you can always count on is that what you are supposed to do will work out for the best, but the responsibility is for you never to lose sight of that and never to lose faith. See, some of y'all right now, y'all don't think y'all ever be sitting here. That was a moment where you were on your knees and you were, Lord, please let me get this D. Y'all know I'm not lying. Let's be real clear. I have always had the ability to communicate. I ain't got no problem saying I communicated myself to at least 2 Ds in college. Yes, I did. Don't think I didn't. What I said, I need to go ahead. We need to just put that in the Hall of Fame, because that was some of the best communicating I had ever done in my life. Because see, when we go through difficult times, we don't always see beyond the horizon. Some of us are sitting here and not even just praying to get through that semester. You never even thought you were going to walk onto this campus. And people were doubting you, and you said, I'm going anyway. And there were people who were in your neighborhood, and they were saying, yeah, you'll be back. And that was driving you the entire time, because what you were saying is, I don't want to go back because I don't want them to be right. And see, that's fine, because fear sometimes can drive you where you need to go. See, there's nothing wrong with fear, because sometimes when you are afraid to go back, when you're afraid to return home, when you're afraid to face your doubters, when you're afraid to look them in the eye, there's nothing like being able to go back and say, I did it even while you were hating. See, when I was in high school, Jack Yates High School in Houston. All right, we got some Yates folks here. JY, okay, all right then. We all over the place, just so y'all know. It's my senior year in high school, and that was a teacher on our campus, and I hadn't even taken one of his classes, and he walked up to me. He said, Roland, I understand that you're going to Texas A&M. I said, yep. And he said, well, you sure you ready? I said, I'm sorry. What do you mean, am I sure I'm ready? He says, well, that's a little tough. Do you think you ought to go to Prairie View first and then go? I said, well, first of all, what you're telling me is that you think that Prairie View, the HBCU, is inferior to Texas A&M and is less than. But also what you're telling me is that you did not properly prepare me as a high school student to be able to handle the rigors of a Texas A&M. I said, so isn't your doubt really not can I handle it, but isn't your doubt really about whether y'all did y'all supposed to do? I did say that. Same thing happened with our football coach, Luther Booker. Won multiple state championships, produced some of the greatest athletes ever played college and NFL, and he grabbed me one day and he said, hey, you going to Texas A&M? I said, yes, I am. He said, it's a doggone shame all of our black kids bypassing our HBCUs going to the white schools. I said, really? Are you not the same coach who complains when Nebraska and OU and Texas A&M and Alabama and Ohio State does not recruit your top players? I said, so what you're saying is you only want our top football players to go to schools like A&M, but you somehow don't want those of us who don't play sports to go to the A&Ms of the world. I said, do you also understand that Texas A&M was a land-grant institution that was founded in 1876, and like many people in the South, they did not want to accept federal funds, but it was black legislators who came out of slavery, who was in the legislatures, who ensured that these universities were created with those federal funds. So it was actually freed slaves that made land-grant institutions what they were. Did you not go to Prairie View, which is a land-grant institution? So the same land-grant money that's created Texas A&M created Prairie View A&M. Now, please explain to me the problem. Yeah, I was one of those students. See, understand when I graduated 4 years later from Texas A&M, I went back to my high school and I sought out the teacher who said I was not prepared to go there and should have gone somewhere else. And I was sure to leave a graduation invitation on his desk so he could understand that when you're walking in your destiny, doubters and haters will never be able to win when you know exactly what you were supposed to do. It's the same thing when there are people in your life who are questioning you and whether you should make this decision or that decision. But when you're walking in your destiny, you should never worry what others have to say, because you will always have the last laugh because you did what you were supposed to do. But the question is, are you going to do all that is required for you to fulfill your destiny? See, it's one thing to say, I'm going to major in this. It's one thing to say, I'm going to get a job in this. But the real question is, are you going to do what's necessary once you're there to stay there and elevate your game? And then are you now also going to take on the whole view that what somebody else thinks to be the greatest thing in the world is not the most important thing to you. So therefore, what you really begin to say is, no, I know exactly what it is I want to do. So I had a brother who pulled me aside and he said, man, when you going to get you a show? I said, I'm on TV every day, 7 a.m., TV One. He said, no. I don't mean, he said, I mean a real show. I said, a real show? He said, yeah, I mean like a real show on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC. I said, a real show. I said, do you realize that when Lester Holt comes to D.C. and he does the NBC Nightly News, he literally sits in the exact same chair that I sit in? I said, same camera, same desk, same walls and everything. I said, we do my show at NBC News Channel, 8th floor. I said, we send the show via satellite the same way they do. I said, you turn on the cable, it's the same thing. I said, but you think because it is a black network, it is not a real show, when the fact of the matter, it is. I said, do you also know that Lester Holt is the anchor of NBC Nightly News? But unlike when Brian Williams was the anchor of NBC Nightly News, Brian Williams was the anchor and managing editor of NBC Nightly News, which means that Brian Williams had the final authority over what was reported on NBC Nightly News. Lester Holt doesn't. I said, do you realize what my title is at TV One's News One now? I am the host and managing editor. That means that there's nothing that goes on the show that I don't approve. If there's something that I don't approve of, it's not going to make the air. If there's a guest on the show I don't want on, they don't get on. If there's somebody who I want on right now, live in the middle of the show, I would suggest the folks in the control room get them on the phone, because there will be a problem when the show is over. I said, what you don't understand is you want me to be on somebody else's network when I have full control over what I do here. You heard your president reading off the newspapers that I ran. It's the exact same thing. Ran the Dallas Weekly, the Houston Defender, as well as the Dallas Weekly. Also, Chicago Defender. Also became general manager. Why is that important? Because I never believed that somebody else's ice is colder. Because I understood what my destiny was. Next year, we will celebrate the 190th anniversary of the nation's first black newspaper, Freedom's Journal, created in 1827. The lead editorial of the first black newspaper was, quote, "We wish to plead our own cause, too long have others spoken for us." What that means is that for some reason in our life, we have lived a life where we are waiting for somebody else to tell our story, to report our story, to do our story, and I've always been of the mind I would rather be in control of my own destiny, report on my own people and products that we own and control, as opposed to asking somebody else, can I cover this? Can I report on this? Can we do this? See, when you're walking in your own destiny, you don't get caught up in whether your show is on CNN or MSNBC. You know that there's value when you have your own network like TV One to report your story. Because see, after Freddie Gray was killed, everybody in America was talking about what was happening in Baltimore. It was on fire, but there was only one network who chose to come to Morgan State to have a town hall to deal with what was happening in Baltimore, and that was the Black Network. I had a woman who actually called me one day, and she said, you know, Roland, I really think you should be bigger than you are. You should be on NBC or CBS. I said, baby, I'm good. Enough folk know my name. I said, see, you're caught up in somebody else's stuff. You want white validation for what? I said, I don't need validation from anybody else. When I walk through airports and when I see the brother who is shining shoes, when I was coming from the bathroom and the brother who's a janitor with a broom in his hand, he said, brother, thanks for holding it down for us. That's all the validation that I need. When you are walking in your destiny, you're not worried about what somebody else is saying. What I'm saying to you is you are going to be presented with a decision in life where you're going to have to decide, do I want to be with a big company, small opportunity, or a small company and a big opportunity? You got to then make a decision. Because see, do understand, when I was at the White House sitting at the table in an off-the-record interview with the president, conversation with the president, I wasn't there when I was with CNN. I was there because of TV One. When I won the first Image Award with President Obama and the second Image Award with First Lady Michelle Obama, the name does not say CNN, it says TV One. When I sat down with Sam Jackson and Spike Lee and others, it was because of TV One and not because of CNN. Folk get excited about those three letters, CNN, but the reality is I have been able to do what I wanted to do for my people because of 5 letters, TVONE. What I'm trying to explain to you is when you understand that, when you walk in your destiny, you get it. But some of y'all might be saying, well, that's because of now, but no. See, I declined an internship with CBS News to work at the Houston Defender. 1990, I declined an internship at CBS News to work at a black newspaper. I would have been carrying a tripod unpaid at CBS News. But at the black newspaper, I was interviewing the mayor and Congressman Craig Washington and were able to interface with folks across the country. See, some of us get excited by CBS and we bypass the Houston Defender. But see, fast forward to 2013 when I got NABJ Journalist of the Year. I got it because of a coverage of voter suppression on TV One, not CNN. News One now, Washington Watch, Sunday show. CNN said 2009, not giving you a show. TV One said, we giving you a show. In fact, 2009, I was sitting there, and the president of CNN, we went to lunch. He said, when you going to give up Time Joyner? When you going to give up TV One? When you going to give up all these speeches? And I said, when you going to give me a 5-day-a-week show? That I might think about it. 2010, he got fired. 2013, my contract was up. 2016, I'm still on Time Joyner. I'm still on TV One. I'm still giving speeches. I still publish my own books. I still have my own company. What I'm trying to get you to understand, you have to walk in your destiny and not what somebody else thinks you should be doing. When you do that, then you can have an impact on the world that nobody else will be able to touch, because that's because you understand what's important. You are going to have to make those type of decisions. And when you do, you must be willing to look somebody in the eye and say, I'm perfectly fine just where I am. You might think somebody else, that's important, but it's not. You might have to turn down more money somewhere else, take less money, but if I got freedom and flexibility, you can have more money, because I've got more money and stress, freedom and drama, and I'm asking you, can I do something? And I can take a little less, and I'm in control of my life and my destiny. You can have a couple of more dollars, because I take freedom and flexibility every single day. We make decisions because we're trying to please somebody else. We're trying to make somebody else happy. I love my mama and my daddy, but I do not make decisions to make them happy. I got one brother, 3 sisters. I don't make a decision to make them happy. I have a wife. I don't make a decision to make her happy. I make decisions through the prism of my faith. Lord, is it in your will for me to do this? Because see, for a lot of us, we pray for a house, pray for a car, pray for a job, pray for a husband, pray for a wife, and we never put on the end of that, Lord, if it's in your will for me to do this. And if you are operating in his will, if you are operating every single day doing what God designed for you to do, trust me, you are going to have the riches of life, and they may not be revealed in your bank account, but you will have peace of mind. You will have an understanding of what you're supposed to do. That's every decision that you should make. And so when you leave here, you have to ask yourself, Lord, should I take this job or that one? What's in your will? Because there have been some jobs that I wanted to take. God said, no, don't do that. Because see, you don't know what's around the corner. All you can see is just right in front of you. I know what's around the corner. And I've sat here and there were some folks, some of y'all might know this, y'all want to date somebody. And y'all like, man, she look good, he look good. About 3 years later, Lord, they don't look good. What happened? And he said, I tried to tell you, and either you listened or you didn't. Because see, here's one of the mistakes we make. God will give you the desires of your heart, but it don't mean your heart is right. Some of y'all gonna get that as y'all at your graduation party. He will give you the desires of your heart, but you got to make sure that your heart is right. And some of y'all are saying, well, that's great. And I said this last week. When I say walk in your destiny, some of y'all are saying, man, that's great. All the stuff that the president said, man, this brother's doing all this sort of stuff. And he talked about his mom and daddy living in a house that he paid for. But do understand, 16 years ago when I was at the Democratic National Convention, and the night Al Gore accepted the nomination for president, my appendix ruptured. Do understand that night I was sitting there going to a hospital in L.A. with my appendix ruptured, and I was a 29-year-old producer, and I did not have health insurance. Do understand just 9 months before that, when I moved back to Dallas to get a job, and then when I got there, bought a house, and the job was not there, and the brother wouldn't answer the phone call. I'm still looking for him today. Do understand that I was in a situation where here I am, a new homeowner, coming out of a divorce, don't have a job, and all of a sudden my appendix ruptures, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there without health insurance, sitting in the hospital for 5 days. While I'm in the hospital, car gets repossessed at the airport because the lease was up and could not pay it off because of lack of money. And here I am facing $100,000 in health care bills, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Do understand, while I'm sitting there and I'm going, Lord, I need to understand something. I have all these skills, I have all these gifts, I have all these talents. Why are these things not happening? Why is this happening in my life? The Lord said, I will provide. I'm like, yeah, I hear I will provide, but the light's going to get cut off in 48 hours. I need you somehow to provide real quick when it comes to check to keep the lights on. See, don't understand, while y'all sitting here reading somebody's bio, you better read what's behind somebody's bio. And do understand. Do understand while I'm going through this situation, trying to understand what's happening, and then all of a sudden, 2001, 2002, 2003, then all of a sudden, then the house begins to go into foreclosure. And I'm like, Lord, what's going on? And then all these things are happening, and then all of a sudden, I get the phone call to become the consultant for the Chicago Defender. And then I negotiate a job paying me $110,000 a year. And then all of a sudden, I got to move to Chicago. Then I'm dealing with a sister who's in an abusive marriage who comes to me. Me and my wife only married less than 6 months with her 2 kids, 5 and 2. So here I'm newly married and dealing with a sister and 2 nieces, raising them, and I'm trying to be the father figure for them. All these things are happening. Pay off bankruptcy, go through that. All these things begin to happen because God said, I need you to trust me all throughout, because I told you what you were designed to do, but you got to have enough faith in me to make these things happen. God told me point blank in July 2000, I got to put some people in place for these things to happen, for these things begin to happen. And see, so when you talk about the show on TV1 today in 2016, it was because I met Jonathan Rogers in 1989 at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention when I ran for student representative on the board, and he was a board member. Don't understand, I might be wearing the Alpha soul, but Jonathan also was an Alpha. And then when he left Discovery Network and then all of a sudden signed with TV1, Jonathan began to say, your voice is important. I'm going to put you on television. We won't start when we first launch, but it's going to happen. See, on MLK Day in January, TV1 will be 13 years old. I will have been with the network for 12 of those years. Oh, but see, I know some of y'all are saying, well, wait a minute, but how did that happen? Same thing, he read Tom Joyner, Black America Web, because I met Neil Foote in 1989 on the board of NABJ when I was a student representative. And that's all of a sudden, Neil Foote in 2003 was the one who helped Tom Joyner launch Black America Web. I was one of the first folks he called. I'm trying to get you to understand that what happened in 1989, the reason that matters is because Daddy was going to take a new job somewhere else, but Daddy worked at Amtrak. And Daddy worked at Amtrak. I couldn't afford to fly to New York, but luckily Daddy worked at Amtrak. And Daddy said, how important is this? I said, Daddy, going to this convention could very well change the course of my life. Nearly every job that I've had in my career has been a result of the people who I first met at that convention in 1989. Oh, but I got to go back a little further, because in 1985, when I was a junior at Jack Yates High School, we had career day. And then all of a sudden, we had 2 folks who came in, a white guy guy and an Asian woman. She was a municipal judge in Houston. And over here we had a guy who had an import-export business. But as he was talking, he also began to say that he used to be chairman of the Texas Republican Party. I'm going to come back to that because y'all going to understand you can't always ignore somebody. If they got a D or an R, you never know how they're going to impact your life. So we were sitting in the government class, and they said, time for ask questions. And then all of a sudden, nobody wanted to ask questions, 30-some-odd students. So I began to ask questions. Why? Because Daddy watched 5 hours of news a day. Daddy read the paper every day. I had to do the exact same thing. So I began to hit him on policies dealing with Reagan, Social Security, federal government. And this white guy looking at me like, I don't know who this little black kid is, but he's sure asking me a whole lot of questions. And so all of a sudden, I impressed this very same guy sitting in that classroom. Coach said, walk him to his next class. We begin to talk, stayed in contact. Oh, but do understand that was 1985. And then, of course, in 1989, here we are at Texas A&M, and we began to sit here and write letters of 30 foundations all across Texas to try to go to this convention. And we see and get 29 rejection letters. Then one day, the envelope comes in. And the envelope comes in, and we open it up, and it says, Roland Martin, great to see you still doing what you want us to do. Here's a $1,000 check for y'all to be able to go to this convention, and I hope it helps defray your costs, signed George Strait. See, George Strait was the same white guy, former head of the Texas Republican Party, who was in that classroom in 1985, who I began to hit with questions. See, do understand something? Had Daddy not watched news, had Daddy not read the newspaper, had I not followed in Daddy's footsteps, I would not have been prepared to ask the very questions in 1985. I would not have been able to impress this guy in 1985, who would not have been able to write a check in 1989. We would not have been able to go to the National Association of Black Journalists in 1989, would not have been able to run for the board of directors, would not have met Jonathan Reuters, would not have met Neil Foote, would not have met Dwayne Wickham, would not have met E.R. Shipp, would not have met all the folks who I've had jobs in my life, because the whole time I was walking in my destiny. Small decision to read a paper and asking a question in 85 changes a life in 89, changes a life in 2000, and then 2003, and then 2013, and then 2016. When you walk in your destiny, when you trust God for where you are trying to go, then you will have the kind of life you always dreamed of. And when you do that, then you will be able one day to come back to this campus, and that will say, there goes one of our great Morgan State graduates, because why? They walked in their destiny.